Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today, inshallah, we are going to complete our talk about the consumer equilibrium under the indifference curve theory. As there were a large number of students absent in the last class, I will come back quickly to the indifference curve and the idea of the indifference curve. So, let's go to the indifference curve theory. Indifference curve theory. Indifference curve means منحنيات السواء. This theory is used to explain the idea of the consumer equilibrium or utility maximization, right? To understand the idea of indifference curve, let us assume that we have the following example, the following data about a consumer, and this consumer has or consumes different bonded of goods. Bundle. Bundle means group. A, B, C, D. And let us assume that we have two groups. Sorry, two products. I know إنه خدتوه. هذا the last part of the class here. We have two products, bread and milk. This is the quantity consumed of X and milk, Y, product Y. 1, 2, 3, 4. Milk, 10. 6, 4, 3. Let's add one more column here. The total utility obtained or gained here. Let's assume 100 utils, 100, 100, 100. In this example, we are talking about a consumer. This consumer has different options, different choices. If he consumes at a group A one piece of a bread plus 10 cups of milk, he will gain 100 utils. The total utility obtained here when he consumes one piece of bread and 10 mugs of milk will give him 100 utils as a benefit. Right? Here. Adding or consuming different bundle. 2 pieces of bread and or plus 6 mugs or 6 cups of milk will give him the same total utility. The third bundle here. Consuming 3 pieces of bread and 4 cups of milk will give him 100 utils. Group 4, and the 3 will give him the same total utility. What do you see? Adding one more unit here. One more piece of bread here. He gives up here 4 units, 4 cups of milk. The giving up here. And then the giving up, or he gives up, how many? 2 units. Giving up 1 unit. What do you see? Adding one more unit here from X. The giving up is decreasing to keep the same total utility. بمعنى ضحى ب4 ضحى ب2 ضحى ب1 شوي مش هيضحي ولا بحاجة. تمام. Now let's study the relationship between the quantity consumed of X and the quantity consumed of Y and the total utility obtained under the different bundles of kits. Quantity consumed of X and the quantity consumed of Y. Here, Y is the milk here. And X is the bread here. Quantity X is the bread. Here we have another point, which is the marginal rate of substitution. MRS is the marginal rate of substitution, which is what is the giving up? How much is the giving up? MRS is the marginal rate of substitution. معدل الإحلال الحدي. أنا بحل إشي بمعنى أنه أنا عملت إحلال ضفت هذا وضحيت بهذا عملت إيش ماله substitution. تمام. MRS the marginal rate قبل الجراف هذا MRS equals a change in the quantity consumed of Y over the change in the quantity consumed of X, which means a QY2 minus a QY1 over QX2 minus a QX1 in the absolute value. تمام؟ نيجي عن هيك. This is the QX1, QX2, QY1, QY2. Let's calculate the marginal rate of substitution for the first case. QY2 minus QY1 over QX2 minus QX1. So 6 minus 10 over 2 minus 1. بمعنى بكم ضحيت. giving up قديش. The marginal rate of substitution, MRS, for the first case equals QY2 minus QY1 over QX2 minus QX1. So equals 6 minus 10 over 2 minus 1 equals minus 4 over 1 equals minus 4. In the absolute value, it should be 4. The second case, or the second point here. 4 minus 6 over 3 minus 2. 2. The absolute value here, 2. And then 3 minus 4 over 4 minus 3, the absolute value 1. What do you see? The marginal rate of substitution is decreasing. The absolute value ماله ماخذ اتجاه ايش ماله؟ ليش؟ Adding one more unit giving up تبع الكونسيومر ماله بقل. ببطل يضحي. بمعنى لقيت لو جينا هنا هيك ضفنا 5 حيضلوا عند 3. تمام؟ طيب. So now let's draw the graph that shows the relationship between the quantity consumed of X and Y and the marginal rate of substitution. أمسح هيك ولا لسه؟ Okay. So here let's show or represent or discuss the relationship between the quantity consumed of X and Y. In the horizontal axis here we're talking about, or there is a QX, and the vertical axis QY. QX 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Quantum X. Sorry, quantum Y. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 here. The first point, point A here. How much is the QX? 1. Quantum Y, 10. 1 and 10. Can be shown here. Point A. Point B, 2 and 6. Can be shown here. B. C, 3 and 4. C. And D, 4 and 3. 4 and 3 here. If we connect these points together, we will reach to a curve, which is the indifference curve. The indifference curve, IC. IC is the abbreviation of the indifference curve. At this point, the total utility, at this point, total utility equals 100, as we mentioned here. On AC, each point lies along the indifference curve, means that the consumer will gain the same total utility. شيء بيسموه indifference، سواء، بمعنى هو سواء. indifference سواء، زي ما بقول سواء أخذت هيك أو هيك واحد. هي هيك، سواء أخذ هاد أو هاد هو سواء بالنسبة له، لأنه total utility obtained equals 100. اسمه هيك سواء. Indifference curve. So indifference curve means it's indifference for the consumer to consume either at A or B or C or D or M or N or K. All these points will give the consumer the same total utility. Right? تمام؟ طيب. What about the marginal rate of substitution? MRS is delta equal to y over the change in quantity of x, which is the slope of the indifference curve. Marginal rate of substitution, MRS. Change in quantity of y over change in quantity of x. الميل تبع هذا هو الindifference curve. اللي هو السلوب هذا of IC. كيف تحسب السلوب عند A هذا؟ This the tangent point here. نقطة التماس. عمل السلوب عندها هيك بيطلع رقم. طب شو بصير قاعد في السلوب؟ What will happen to the slope of indifference curve as we move from left to right? The slope is decreasing. احسب السلوب مقابل على مجاور بيطلع decreasing, which represents the marginal rate of substitution, which is decreasing as well. So the marginal rate of substitution, the marginal rate of substitution is the slope of indifference curve. تمام? Let's go to the properties of the indifference curve or the characteristics of the indifference curve. علقت. ايش اسوي لها؟ نعم. ايش اللي مش فاهم؟ هيني جايين له لسه. بقدرش انا اخش لك على بادجت لاين وعلى اندفرنس كيرف وعلى كونسيومر ايكويليبريم بدون ما تفهم هذا. تفهم هذا؟ خلاص غير بدي اياه، انا بدي اكثر من هيك، شوي شوي بس. طيب, let's go to the characteristics of indifference curve or the properties of indifference curve. خصائص من حيث السرعة. Indifference curve properties. What are the characteristics of indifference curve? Here, as we mentioned, that the indifference curve is a downward sloping. It looks like the demand curve. So, number one, this is the indifference curve, quantum x, quantum y. Number one, the IC is a downward sloping. تمام? Or has a negative slope. It's impossible to find this shape of indifference curve. هذا ما اسموش indifference curve. ولا يمكن في حياتك تشوفي indifference curve has a positive slope. هذا الشكل مش موجود. تمام؟ Okay? What else? I see convex to the original point. Convex, I see convex to the original point. لو طلعت عليه من هنا محدب ولا مقعر؟ Convex, yes. Convex means محدب تجاه نقطة الأصل. تمام؟ إذا ماله؟ Convex to the original point. Number three. A movement from point A to B to C to D to E, from left to right along the indifference curve means the marginal rate of substitution will go down or will decline. تمام؟ إذن a movement from left to right along the same indifference curve means or represents the decreasing of the marginal rate of substitution. Then, a movement from left to right to right along the same IC means or represents or shows represents the law of decreasing the marginal rate of substitution. تمام؟ Number four. Indifference curves never touch or never cross. نشوف؟ Okay. Or before that, a movement or a fault shifting of indifference curve means that the consumer will gain or obtain larger total utility. بمعنى هذا الindifference curve 1 بيعطي له 100 utils. لو رحت rightward بياخد utilities أعلى. A movement or a full shifting, rightward shifting of IC from IC1 to IC2 means that the consumer gains larger total utility. So here IC2, let us assume 150. IC3, 200, and so on. So a movement or a full shifting or rightward shifting and vice versa. Rightward shifting of indifference curve means that the consumer will gain larger total utility. Number 3 or 4 here. The rightward shifting of IC means that the consumer will gain, means that the consumer gains larger total utility. And vice versa. The leftward shifting of indifference curve means that the consumer will gain less total utility. تمام؟ طيب. What else? Number 5. The indifference curves never touch or don't cross. Number 5 here. gains يحقق أو يعني بيكسب يحصل على gets. 5. The indifference curves don't touch or cross or intersect with each other. So it's impossible to find two indifference curves like this. واحد يكون جاي IC1 و IC2 هدول بتلاقوهمش. ليش؟ خلينا نشوف. عشان نقول never touch never cross بدي أثبتها. تمام؟ Okay. So the assumption here is that the indifference curves don't cross, don't intersect with each other. How? Let us assume that we have two indifference curves and there is an intersection between these two curves. And then we will prove that there is no, or it's impossible to intersect or to find an intersection between two indifference curves. To prove this assumption here, بدنا نثبت إنه the indifference curves don't cross. Let us assume that there is a cross between two indifference curves, quant y and quant x. And here's IC1 and IC2. Point A, B, C, D, and E. So we're gonna prove that there is no intersection, no cross between two indifference curves. In this graph, what do you see? Point C lies along indifference curve 1. صح؟ C, so C and A and D مالهم lie along the same indifference curve. صح؟ So C equals A equals D because they give the same total utility for the consumer. صح؟ Along the indifference curve 2, B equals A equals E because they give the consumer the same total utility. صح؟ هيو along indifference curve 1, C equals A equals D. Along indifference curve 2, B equals A equals E. هين اللي جاي له أنا هذا. In economics, along IC1, at IC1, what do you see? At IC1, point C equals A equals D because these combinations, these groups will or give the consumer the same total utility. So point A, C equals A equals D, right? Because these groups give the consumer the same total utility. At indifference curve 2, what do you see? B gives the same as A, the same as E, the total utility. So B equals A equals E. So in economics or in mathematics, كلهم بيساووا بعض. In mathematics, as C equals A equals D and B equals A equals E, so مفروض انه C بيساوي A equals D equals B equals E. صح؟ In economics here, مين أعلى من مين؟ B is bigger than C. صح؟ هاي مين بيقع على منحنى سواء أعلى؟ B is bigger than C. D is bigger than E. In economics. B is bigger than C. And D is bigger than E. طول حياتنا في الايكونومكس بنمشي مع الماثيماتكس، بمعنى بنمشي احنا بارلل احنا وياهم. اذا تعرضنا صار في كونتراديكشن بيننا وبينهم وقف في بروبلم. ما بينفع اقول بالايكونومكس بالماثيماتكس B C equals A equals D equals B equals E, and in economics نقول B is bigger than C and D is so. هذا في عندك contradiction, تناقضات. And so we say that the indifference curve never cross. ولا يمكن يكون في تقاطعات بين indifference curves. Okay? تمام؟ تمام. Let's go to the other shapes of indifference for the indifference curves. We have two other shapes for indifference curves. The other shapes أشكال أخرى للindifference curve. نعم؟ بنفع. بس مش كروس هذا. تمام؟ هذا بسموه indifference map، خريطة. تلاقي مليون indifference curve مع بعض جي. تمام. So let's go to the indifference curve shapes. or different shapes for the indifference curves. تقول لي شبسي هلقيتها مخها في الشبسي. Yeah? طيب. We have two other shapes for indifference curve. Number one, when the two products x and y are perfectly substitutes. أعطوني سلعتين بيحلوا مع بعض إحلال كامل. بمعنى لو أنا ضحيت بكيلو لحم العجل، تمام؟ بدي أضيف 1 more kilogram، بضحي بكيلو جرام من السلعة الثانية. Perfectly substitute السمك واللحمة fish and meat. بدنا نجيب two products x and y that have a perfectly substitutes بيحلوا محل بعض إحلال كامل بدائل. تمام؟ number one هنقول هي qy qx one, two, three, four, five, one, two, three, four. المسافات بس إن فيها مشكلة. This is the IC here. المسافات مفروض انها واحدة بس مش قادر اجيبها بالمقاس. تمام؟ أنا هذا نقول هيك 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. That's it. What do you see? When we add 1 unit of x, we give up how many units? 1 unit of y. Adding 1 more unit, decreasing. Which means the marginal rate of substitution in this case equals how much? Marginal rate of substitution in all cases will be how much? No. Let us assume here. We have different combinations, different groups. In this example here, we are talking about a perfect substitution between product X and Y. So here, a group A, B, C, and D, quantum X, quantum Y, quantum X 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. The marginal rate of substitution here is fixed. هو straight line. هذا من الشيبس. One of the indifference curve shapes, or the shapes of indifference curve, might be a straight line if the indifference curve was a straight line and unitary elastic. زاويته 45 درجة. ال giving up fixed بيكون و equals 1. تمام؟ So MRS here, how much is it? 3 minus 4 over 2 minus 1. Minus 1 بالabsolute value 1. مظبوط؟ We're talking about the absolute values. 1, 1, 1, 1. تمام؟ But B2 depends، يعني ممكن يكون عندي هذا هيك جاي indifference curve. adding one more unit giving up ممكن يكون 2 2 2 ضل ثابت هذا. تمام؟ So the perfect substitute, if the two products are perfectly substitutes, in this case, the indifference curve will be a straight line and the marginal rate of substitution will be fixed. It's not decreasing here. صح؟ لأنه because the marginal rate of substitution is the slope of this line, which is fixed at different points. هيو قديش السلوب؟ fixed. اللي هيك 5 وهنا 5 5 over 5 السلوب تبعه. قد يكون السلوب هيك 5 وهذا 1.5. تمام؟ But in this case, the marginal rate of substitution will be fixed at different points. تمام؟ تمام ولا مش تمام؟ تمام. Another شيء ثابت. constant. لا بيطلع ثابت. أي ها. خليه هيك. But straight line. هاي اي سي. هذا اي سي. خلينا هذا 6 وهذا 2. اي سي. But larger slope than the previous one. صح؟ How much is the slope here? مقابل عم مجاور بالنيجاتيف. صحيح مظبوط؟ صح؟ بيطلع 3. صح؟ خذيها عند النقطة هاي هيك. برضو 3 خذيها من هنا. At this point. linear. تمام؟ هو وين بيقول perfectly substitution لما بيكون السلوب تبعه هيك جاي straight line والزاوية 45 درجة. نعم؟ ده زي بيكون marginal rate of substitution equals 1. Okay? And fixed constant. طيب. Let's go to another shape for the indifference curve. Indifference curve might be like this. Quad x, quad y. Indifference curve. بنفع هيك. I see. Indifference curve. I see. هذا طبعا من rare cases. هو almost بنشوفه هيك جاي. تمام؟ Indifference curve might be like this here. Let us assume that we are talking about two products, x and y. Here we consume 2 units of x and 3 units of y. Adding 1 more unit of x. How much is the giving up of y? 0. Adding 1 more unit. How much is the giving up? So the marginal rate of substitution here equals 0 in all cases. وهذا الكيس بيكونوا two products are complements. بمعنى بفش إحلال ما بينهم. There is no substitution. So in this case, the product x and y are complements. Or substitution equals 0. There is a 0 substitution between x and y if the indifference curve was L. or like L. Complements, complements mean مكملات بيركبوش بيحلوش محل بعض. Zero substitution. There is no substitution equals zero. So the marginal rate of substitution in this case at 1 here, at 2, in this example, at 2 units of x, 2 units of x, how many units of y? 3. مكمل غير كمالي. Radio, solar panels and battery. بينفع تجيب السولار بانل هذا اللوحة تبع الطاقة الشمسية بدون بطاريات؟ خلصنا. بيحلوا محل بعض؟ لا. زيرو سبستيوشن. هذا بسموهم بيكملوا بعض. Cars and fuel. No substitution. صح؟ That's it. So, in this case, 2 units of x, 3 units of y. 3 units of x, 3 units of y. 4 units of x and the 3 units of y. 5 and the 3. Let's calculate the marginal rate of substitution or the slope of this line. How much is it here? 3 ناقص 3 over 3 minus 2, 0. 3 minus 3 over 0, 0. The marginal rate of substitution equals 0. That's it. تمام؟ طيب, let's go to the budget line. Okay, let's go to the budget line. أنصاف اصحي. Let's go to the budget line. The indifference curve shows the willingness to buy something or the total utility obtained when we consume or the consumer consumes different bundles of goods. But to buy, we have to have the ability to buy, which is the second part of demand. Because demand represents or talks or has 2 parts: a willingness or desire to buy something, plus the ability to buy. The willingness to buy can be represented by the indifference curve, which talks about the total utility obtained. Here we're talking about the willingness to buy, the willingness to consume. The another part can be represented, or the ability to consume can be represented or discussed under the budget line. The budget line means budget, مصاري, income. Okay? تمام. The budget line means خط الميزانية, which represents the ability for the consumer to buy something. Right? How can we study or learn or know or derive the budget line? Let us assume that we are talking about a consumer, and this consumer is granted a salary or an income of $2,000 a month. And so let us assume that the consumer's income equals $2,000. And he allocates his income to buy 2 products only, X and Y. And let us assume also that the price per unit of X, price per unit of X equals $40. And the price per unit of Y equals $20. if the consumer wants to buy only X, how many units of X can he buy? If he tends to buy only X and 0 from Y, how many units of X can he buy? Which means that the consumer tends to allocate his income to buy only X. قديش QX? In this case, QX طبعا equals income over price of X, which equals 2,000 over $40 equals 50 units of X and 0 from Y and 0 of Y. The 0 quantum Y. If the consumer wants to buy only Y, if the consumer wants to buy only Y, see income, the quantum Y equals income over price of Y. 2,000 over the price of Y, 20, equals 100. 100 units of Y and 0 from X. تمام؟ طيب. Here's quantum X and the quantum Y. Quantum X 0 and 0 from here and 0 from quantum X. And no, because in this case, in the first case, he will spend all of his income to buy only X. قديش بيقدر يشتري the ability to buy. Here is the ability to buy Y. Or he can allocate his income to buy X and Y. Under the limited budget, the limited income, and the particular prices here, X and Y. So here, quantum X, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. If the consumer wants to buy only X, how many units of X can he buy? 50. How many units of Y in this case? 0. إذا من X بيقدر يشتري 50 عند Y تساوي 0. Or he can buy 100 units of Y and 0 from X. If we connect these points here, this is the budget line. Line represents the ability of the consumer to buy different bundles of goods. Then هو هيك هذا, it's a line. It's not a graph. It's a line. Line. Here. Yes. طب والله هذا بدنا يا دوب اللابتوب بجاوب فيه. شو لا حاجة بس يزبط هذا. خلاص سيء. This is the budget line. Which represents or shows the ability to consumer to buy different bundles of goods. تمام؟ طيب. The consumer can buy also if he buys 60 units of Y, how many units of X can he buy? If he wants to buy 10 units of X, how many units of Y can he buy? This is a question here. Because the consumer can buy only along the end of the budget line. Any point lies along the budget line, مالها, the consumer can buy it. طب برا, he needs more money, more income. If the prices go down or went down, he can buy more. تمام? Now let us assume that the consumer income increased from $2,000 to $3,000, and the price of X, price of Y remains constant. What will happen to his capacity, his ability to buy products? Increase. In economics, increase, yes. But what will happen to the budget line? Shifts right, we'll see. So let us assume that the consumer's income goes up. Income 2 went up to 3,000. And the price of X, the price of Y remains constant or remain constant. مش فاهم على راسي. حاضر ثواني بلاش. انا بدي اجيبها كمان شوي باشياء ثانيه. بلاش تيجي مع 10. بس انا بدي اجيب الفورميلا تبعتها. جاي للفورميلا. But in general here اللي مش فاهمه ثاني. فهمت كيف تعمل درايفنج للبادجت لاين وتعمل دروينج للبادجت لاين؟ تمام؟ طيب. Now the consumer income increased from 2,000 وطلع ل 3,000. يعني بمعنى الآي هيك equals $3,000. And the price of X remains constant at 40. Price of Y remains constant at 20. Derive and draw the new budget line. هيك السؤال بيقول لي derive and draw the budget line. The new budget line. The new budget line. Derive and draw the new budget line. The same idea here. بنقول quantity of X equals income over the price of X. The new income, how much is it? 3,000 over 40. قديش بيطلع هذا؟ A new quantity of X. هذا new. We're talking about a new. وهذا new وهذا new. بس هذا ما فيش changes فيه. عندنا في changes في الانكم، عمل changes في quantity of X. تمام؟ طيب a new quantity of Y equals a new income بالنيو هذا over price of Y لنيو. اشتغل على نيو. هو نيو without changes. وكأني بشتغل في سؤال جديد. لنيو كله على نيو. without changes okay. without changes. الآن هيك. The new quantity of Y equals a new income 3000 over 20. قديش هذا؟ 150. إذا هذا هيك equals 3000 over 20 equals 150. لا the same. بدي أطلع فوق لحد 150 وهذا لحد 75 وبوصل الاثنين مع بعض. Parallel to the previous one. So مين مش فاهم؟ قبل so ايه؟ أنا عشان أعرف ألطم ولا ما ألطمش يعني. Just for لطم يعني. طيب if the consumer's income went down from $2,000 and the prices remain constant. بمعنى the question is if the consumer's income went down from $2,000 to 1,500. خلينا نشتغل على هيك. From the consumer's income went down from $2,000 to $1,500. Derive and draw the new budget line. صار عندنا a quantum x in new. I'm talking about a new quantum x.
يعني بالسؤال بيجي مرتين انه
بيجي مرتين وبيجي ثلاثة وبيجي 10. بس انت بدك تكوني فاهمة. هلا تحكيليش ايش السؤال اللي جاي. لسه احنا قاعدين بنأسس لايش. How can the consumer reach the equilibrium? Which is what is the optimal combination that maximizes his total utility using the indifference curve theory and the budget line. تمام؟ طيب. Here in this case, in UQX equals 1500 over the price is constant 10 40 37 ونص. Okay. Quantum Y in U 1,500 over price of Y 20 equals how much؟ معنى هذا قديش صار عندي؟ هذا كوانتم اكس 37 ونص يعني هنا هيك هيو وهذا 75 هي. The budget line shifts left parallel to the previous one موازي inside مش outside صح؟ as the income goes down. تمام؟ يعطيكم العافية المرة الجاية بنكمل.